Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. I would love to warmly welcome you to another episode of the Truth Runners Talk Show. I'm Christina, and I'm going to be your host again today. And today, I have an amazing, wonderful guest as well, and we're going to talk about not really what changed, but understanding what changed internally and how that shows up in the way we live today. I'm in conversation with one of the wonderful contributing authors of The Courage to Rise, a book that explores what happens after the turning point, okay? When continuing the same way is no longer an option. And I am joined by Kirsten. And today, rather than focusing again on what happened, we will explore how she thinks, how she decides, and how she moves forward now, because for me, personally, is where real rising begins. So welcome, Kirsten, once again. It's a pleasure to have you here with me today.
Oh, thank you, Christina. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. So before we dive deep in the conversation, really, please allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to her Kirsten. She's wonderful and amazing. She is the Heart Opener Coach, a woman who walked through heartbreak and emerged with an unshakable sense of purpose. When her marriage fell apart, her world collapsed, plunging her into deep pain, fear, and loneliness. Yet from that darkness, she chose to rise, transforming what she calls her earthquake into a powerful awakening. Today, she supports women navigating breakups, separation, and divorce to do the same. Combining her degree in psychology with lived experience, and that is very powerful, and deep empathy, she guides women through the journey she survived. Her mission is simple: to help women rise from heartbreak and reconnect with the powerful, radiant woman within. And I must say, Kirsten, I admire you for this. You have all my respect. And this is an amazing work what you are doing. You are a beautiful light in the world and people need you. So keep doing what you are doing and keep shining. And before we go into your chapter, let me start with a question like, how would you describe where you are in life right now?
A great question. I feel like I am in a very different place to when we last spoke, and a very different place, which was only like 3-4 months ago, actually. I feel like every month I'm in a very different place. If you want to call it quantum leaping or whatever, or transforming very rapidly. When you go through something like a heartbreak and you eventually start coming out the other side, the awakenings that you get, the learnings you get, and the growth you get is so exponential that you just keep evolving all every day almost. It's a roller coaster experience, and but even the lows, you realize it's a learning curve. You're never taking steps back. You're always moving forward, and then the highs are leaps. So you leaping, and then the lows can feel slow, but when you come out of it, you have a greater sense of a lesson there. So I'm still learning, learning every day.
And that's beautiful what you're saying, because the truth is we are learning every day. And I keep saying that we are a work in progress. Always it's a work in progress. And I agree with you. We changed a lot in the past few months, right? We had our last Truth Runners a couple of months ago, really, and we are having that today. But in a couple of months, there are so many changes, right? There are so many ups and downs. But did you notice that when we have the downs, the more we give ourselves permission, the more we grow, the more we rise, I would say, the faster we can, rise again from the downs. Did you notice that?
Yeah, absolutely. In the beginning of a divorce or separation, you have more downs than ups.
Yeah.
But then as you start going through it and start coming out the other side, you have more ups than downs, and you now have the tools to teach you how to climb out of that hole faster, and how to learn from that darkness. So those dark times are actually the greatest teachers.
That's true. I agree. That's a very beautiful sentence. The dark times are the best teachers. That's true. And in this, let's call it transition phase, okay? We are in the in between, or this transition phase. Was there a moment where continuing the same way, it was impossible for you? You said, okay, I can't continue this way anymore.
Absolutely. Like I reached a point where I was saying all the time, enough, this needs to stop, because I was now choosing to be in a situation where I was getting stuck. The situation wasn't changing. The patterns were repeating. I knew what to expect. I knew what would come next. I knew the pain, the hurt. And at the end of the day, it was me that was holding myself there. So it was eventually, yes, enough. And it's a conscious decision. This has to stop. And it's difficult because you don't, even though you make that conscious decision, sometimes you slip back into it and then you have to say again, enough. And sometimes even that, you have to remember to be gentle on yourself. And for me, at least, my experiences, and even part of letting go and choosing myself, it's all been one step forward and then a pause, and a forward and a pause, and then a leap and a pause. And it's even though I would say this is enough, some people can cut it off and change that day. And for me, it was more micro actions, but it was very much a conscious decision to say, this has to stop.
I love what you're saying about conscious decision, really. And yes, we have one step or two step forward, one back, two forward, one back, and that's the real thing. Because I've seen, many times, oh, just be positive, just, enough, and then you quantum leap and you change everything in a day. I kind of would like to argue with that, and I agree with what you said. Yes, we always, no matter what, this is just how life goes. We have ups, downs, you say enough today and then you fall back. You say enough again. But when you say enough too many times, or, that enough, it will stuck. It's like when we kind of have to unlearn, not learn, but to unlearn things. You say enough and then you regulate your nervous system. This is very important because we sometimes overlook this. But I think that regulating the nervous system through the ups and downs and heartbreaks is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a process of unlearning all the patterns and behaviors that repeat. When you become aware of them, and that's a big part of healing, you have to be aware of them in order to break them. And actually, it's about unlearning.
Unlearning.
About unlearning. You're 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say, guys, it's not about learning, really. It's about unlearning. And I also would love to say, if you are watching now live or in the replay, and if you have any questions or any comments, please, guys, feel free to put them in the comments below. Kirsten and myself, we're going to try our best to answer your questions. As I said, even now in the live, or if you are going to watch this in the replay, we are always here to help you, to guide you and to inspire you, really, because this is all about, inspiring and telling the truth. And that's why I love the Truth Runners, because we kind of tell the raw truth, right? People tend to mask things, say it in a wonderful, beautiful, oh, you're going to heal and you're going to transform and it's going to be wonderful. No, it's not going to be wonderful in the beginning. But, again, feel free to ask, to argue, to comment. We are always here for you. Was there something along the way you had to stop believing about yourself in order to become the person you are today here with me?
So that's a great question, and that was a big one for me. It was I had to stop believing that I couldn't do it myself.
That's a big one.
It was the fears, and that being alone was okay. Like the fear of being alone, the fear of, you've always, in a relationship, you always have someone else, and I have children, so we're in a family, and there's always someone there to help you and make decisions together, and realizing that I can do it on my own, and looking back and realizing I've been doing it on my own for a while already, and we're all okay, and that actually moving forward alone is not as scary as being stuck in this chaos and this cycle of hurt. And once I recognized that and let that go, I could move forward.
Two things I love. I love what you're saying, but there are two things what I would love, if it's okay with you, to go a little bit deeper, okay? When you say, I was stuck. Number one, how do we know when we are stuck? And number two, you said also that is that fear that you can't make it alone. But if the truth is, the reality is that you already was doing it alone, right? Because most of the women who remain in certain relationships, any kind of relationship, let's not just talk about marriage, right? But any relationship, we stay there because of this fear of, I can't do it alone, right? So how do we recognize that we are actually stuck? And how can we stop, or what is it that you personally use to say, okay, I'm using this and I know that I can make it alone? Because in reality, you are never alone though.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two parts to that. So the first one of recognizing that I can do this alone was actually a friend. A friend pointed out to me, and when I was like, I can't do this, I can't do it on my own. She was like, Chris, you are doing it. Do you realize you are doing it, and you have been doing it for a while, and you're doing brilliantly? And I was like, what? What do you mean I'm doing it? It's like, look, you've been doing it for months and you're doing it brilliantly. And that was like someone else had to point that out to me. I didn't see it myself. And once I saw it, then I was like, you're right. You're right. I am. And it's okay. And I'm actually making decisions and I'm coordinating things. I'm looking after children. I'm working. I'm holding everything together and we're still okay and we're moving forward. That was a big one. But I needed someone else to help me do that. And then the second one of being stuck was about, I realized that I was just, the same story was being repeated, the same cycles were being repeated. And once I recognized this, because I knew what was coming, I knew my response, I knew his response, or whatever it was where I was stuck, I suddenly realized, okay, no, I'm being stuck. But and then I could try, like, it took me time, but I could try and break. And another pattern I realized when I started recognizing my patterns, where actually this was a huge breakthrough of being stuck. When I was looking back, when things started unraveling in our marriage, I realized that my ex-husband was moving constantly. He was moving up in his career. He was climbing the ranks. He was traveling for work. He was physically and emotionally growing. And because I could feel he was changing so quickly and it felt out of my control, I did the opposite. I put my feet on the ground and I dug my heels in. And with every trip he had, I had to look after the children. I became resentful. I became angry. I felt like we were only talking about his travels. And then his travels got longer and more frequent. And so I became more stubborn and holding down. And once things unraveled, looking back, I realized that I was completely stuck out of fear of this fast-moving change, and I could see things were happening but didn't understand it. And I actually stuck to a point where I realized I'd been in the same job for 9 years, like really stuck. My circle of friends was tiny. I wasn't growing. I wasn't meeting people. I was so stuck in my little routine of my children, work, home, school, that I literally had built a cage around myself. And I recognized then that I was stuck and I broke it and started moving and growing and changing. But it's interesting that the cage that I felt around me, I've only recently realized. So this is further down the line. You keep having these breakthroughs that actually I built that cage around me, which means I'm the one who can destroy it. And that's been quite a big awakening as well.
I love what you are saying, and thank you for the bravery, and thank you for being bold and sharing that. And yes, the truth is that we create that boundary. We are the ones who are holding ourselves back. And I love what you said about being self-aware, recognizing the patterns. And as soon as you recognize the pattern, then you always have the choice. You always have to change it. And that's beautiful, and that takes courage, and kudos to you for that. It really takes courage, okay?
Right, yeah.
So a lot of things change within you internally, right? Not just externally, because as when you recognize the pattern, you change things, then you will realize that, okay, things, they are changing externally, but they are changing internally, right? And as they change internally, you will move differently. You will think differently. You will feel differently, right? Yeah. How do you move and feel differently now compared to 3 months ago or a year ago?
Yeah, I move with less fear. it's incredible how fear is a portal to anger, right? Or anger is a portal to fear. And I had a lot of anger, and more than anger, I had rage. And I'm not a person who I don't experience anger often. I suppress it a lot. And in this experience, I really needed that rage and that anger to come out, and it wasn't easy for me. And it's like honoring your grief and your emotions, right? If you don't do it properly, they will explode like a volcano in the most craziest moments. And I had those moments too. And I think with each explosion, I broke fears. And I move now with less fear. And because of that, I have a clearer path, and I can see the things I never wanted to see. That is really liberating.
True. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I love what you were saying about anger, because me, honestly, I love anger. Do you know why? Because anger shows me where my boundaries are.
Yeah.
Okay, but what we do many times, it's not just with anger, with any emotion we suppress usually. But when we let the emotions out and we feel it, really feel it, that's when we release it, and that's when the change happens.
Yeah.
But when we are, as you said, stuck, we are in the same pattern. When we are, one of my good friends said, we are in the movie. When we are in the movie, we cannot see because we are the players. Yes. And somebody from the outside, from an external person or somebody, right, they see and they point it out, but we keep denying that, right, because we are in it. Yeah. And I love what you said, that, allowing your emotions, and now you move without, I wouldn't say without fear, but with less fear, right? Because fear is going to always be there. Let's be honest. So there is, and it's a healthy fear in a way, but not the fear that it keeps you stuck and keeps you, this, that you can't breathe kind of thing. Okay.
Correct.
That's beautiful. I really love and admire that about you. What is it that you, before, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about your chapter as well, but I would love to ask you before that, what is it that now, the person who you are today, you are no longer tolerate from others and from yourself as well? You're saying, no, that's a no-no. I've been there, done that, not anymore.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's very much about self-worth and recognizing self-worth and knowing what you deserve. So I think looking back, I put up with a lot. I'm a people pleaser. Yeah.
However, less and less. That's a process as well. I'm assuming in my case, I was a perfect case of people pleaser, right? It's, like book style.
Yeah, me too. And so now it's about, it's not even so much what I won't tolerate. It's more like when it doesn't feel good inside, because I'm not really sure yet what I don't tolerate. But when I feel, part of this journey is about connecting with yourself. And I completely lost myself in my marriage as a mother, as a wife. Like, I had disappeared. And so a lot of this awakening, this learning, has been about reconnecting with myself. So in terms of what I won't tolerate, it's more about feeling through it. If it doesn't feel, something doesn't feel right for me, then it's like a red flag, and I'm like, okay, no. Then I'm learning to say, no, I don't want to do that, whatever that thing is. So it's thinking with my heart and less with my head.
I love what you're saying. It's really about reconnecting with who we are, allowing ourselves, giving ourselves permission to be who we are. Yes, no is a full sentence. That's a process. We keep learning. No is a full sentence. And what I agree with you completely, and I'm just going to add to it, is, listening to our body and to our first instinct, because the tendency was that we suppress our instinct. Even the first thing was, no, that's not right. There was always something what kept pushing us, a lot of circumstances. But now, when you pay more attention to your intuition, to that inner voice, and that's when we set the boundaries, that's when we change. I love that. I love that. So, you are one of the contributing authors, right, to The Courage to Rise. This is my second book I'm curating, and I had the honor to have you on the first one as well. And there is a huge growth. we said it's just a couple of months ago, really. So because in this one, we focused more on not what happened, but where we are right now, what were the lessons. So if you would love to share a little bit about your chapter, not too much, because guys, the book is going to be released on the 15th of May, so please stay tuned, because there are some amazing, wonderful, and really inspiring stories there. Stories of courage, stories of resilience, and yours is one as well. I absolutely love your chapter. So if you would love to share a few words about that.
Yes, thank you. So this chapter is more about what I learned through divorce. And I think any woman and man, anyone going through a separation or divorce, it takes huge courage and resilience that you only recognize in yourself once you're through it, and strength. And basically in my chapter, I talk about briefly on the heartbreak and the shock that I went through when, I never saw it coming at the time. And we really had a great marriage, and we have 2 children, and I have 2 stepchildren from his previous marriage. And we had created a really beautiful blended family. So when everything started unraveling and falling apart, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I was in shock. I didn't choose it. It came from him. So, that's also a different side. Like, the separation of divorce can come from, there's so many reasons why it happens. But if you're the one who doesn't invite it in and don't choose it, I think it's really tough, because I have to accept this, and I fought with everything against it. And eventually you realize to stop resisting and just surrender. So it's about those lessons that I learned, without revealing all the lessons, but it is such a learning curve going through an experience like this, because not only what I'm learning about him and our relationship and the dynamics and myself, but also watching my children navigate this. And there's so many layers to it. I mean, I could have written for many pages, but for someone who's in it, like, I think that I would just talk about one lesson. And the greatest thing in the beginning is honoring your grief, because when you first are immersed in this absolute earthquake and you don't know what is going on, you are so overwhelmed by emotions. And it's so important in the beginning to honor those emotions and feel them and not to bypass them, because of course it can create illness. But like I was talking earlier about these explosions of anger I have, it will come out. It will always come out. So really it's that first phase is about just immersing yourself in how you're feeling and releasing.
Thank you for sharing that, really. And you see, it's interesting that we talk again about emotions, and we talk about, and it's mainly about giving yourself permission really to feel those emotions. Because what we do sometimes, no, I'm strong, I can do it. Okay, I didn't see that coming, but I can do it. Yes, you can do it, but there is, I'm going to say the word again, the transition phase, when you don't understand it, then you accept it, then, you grieve, you let your emotions, you really let them, you allow them, or you allow yourself to feel those emotions, and then it comes acceptance. And it's brave. It's a brave thing to do. And look at you now. I mean, it's Kirsten, I'm so proud of you. I have no words. I'm really, I work and I know a lot of women in this space. And I work with a lot of beautiful souls. And for me, seeing you guys, even myself, because I'm no different. I'm constantly changing. They're also constantly changing. I'm learning things, going through emotions to growth. It's so wonderful to see how kind of we change, and we change in a good way. So how do you stay grounded now when things feel uncertain? We dealt with uncertainty in a different way half a year ago, 20 years ago. I'm not going to say 40 years ago, because then you're going to guess my age. But when things are uncertain, how do you ground yourself? How do you keep yourself grounded and focused?
At times I journal. I find that I like to write. I find that journaling really helps me organize my thoughts and process thoughts. Even if I wake up in the night and I can't sleep, sometimes I just start typing or even if I'm tired, I use a voice note, whatever is easy for me, and I put it on my journal, on my phone, which everyone has access to it. And I find that, even if I never look at it again, it just helps me clear my mind. I also like do some breathing and a bit of breath work, which I find does help. Mostly, I work with a coach, my mentor, and it's very rare that I miss a session. And I'm so committed and dedicated to rising up from this experience and lifting myself out of it, not to be a victim, that I really my coaching sessions are so powerful for me, and each week I need it because it's really uplifting, and I learn so much through those. So I think the combination of a good coach or a good mentor, together with my own tools of journaling. Sometimes I don't even talk to people; I just do it within, and I find that grounds me. Obviously, having children around all the time can also just bring everything down to the basics of reality, Um, and yeah, breathwork. And a little trick I think I wrote in my chapter, which I think is so powerful. And when I'm having moments of uncertainty, but I'm in also a good space, start the day by thinking, before I walk out the door, I think, what magical thing is going to happen to me today?
I love that. I do that too,
Happen.
actually.
Really, really.
Yeah.
And then you look for little signs and you see it. If you don't see it, you will miss them. And I think it's such a powerful thing. I try and tell everyone about this because it's such a tiny thing that can really change someone's day and life.
It's true. I love it. Well, me myself, I'm a combination of logic and spirituality, of business and spirituality. So, but I do a lot of things that keeps me grounded as well, right? I do a lot of things what people say woo woo. It's okay if you think I'm
Yeah.
woo. Welcome to my world. I love doing that. But this is how we learn to the breath work, right? What you are saying, it's about self-regulation, tapping. I found that very interesting, and regulating your nervous system. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So we find something close to us, which is aligned with us, to keep us grounded, to keep us, okay, in this. Yes, you can do it. Let's move forward, and because today is gonna be magical
Yeah.
thing, right? It's
Yeah.
wonderful. No, I'm not saying that. I talked about it, I think, a couple of days ago about toxic positivity. It's not true that I'm always positive and I always think positive. That's kind of honestly impossible. No, because things happen. You have a life, you have work, friends, children. I mean, things happen and you cannot be always positive. I call it toxic positivity. But
Yeah.
important is when you are not, to realize, see that, okay, I'm in this space, I'm allowing myself to be here, but let's just, regulate it, move it
Yeah.
out. I love that. Wonderful. It's, again, it's part of our growth process. Okay. And you said that you are working with a mentor. I know who you are talking about. She's also amazing. She's phenomenal. And you are also coaching now yourself, women, right? So you are the heartbreak to heart topper, right?
Yes.
I'm
Heartbreak to
got it right.
heartbreak.
But
Yeah.
I'm always used to saying your
Right.
name, but I know that you are running under heartbreak to heart topper. So if you would love to share about your work, what you are doing now, and what I love, and I read in your resume when I introduced you to you today, yes, you have a degree in psychology, but what's important is that you have the lived experience. And I always say the women who are sitting here with me, all of them, it's not about books, it's not about what you learn at university and have a degree in psychology, but that combined with lived experience, that's invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's incredible what can come out of a heartbreak. Like they talk about power through pain, and it's really true. And in my case, I came full circle. So I have the degree in psychology, my psychology roots, and I always wanted to do something along that line. And I I meandered in so many different areas. And in the last few years, I've been thinking about going back to it and what I can do and which angle and how I want to. And like, who would have predicted this? But of course, it's all divinely coordinated. And yeah, and I realized that actually my lived experience, what I'm going through now, there are so many women going through this that need the right support. And when I was going through it, I didn't know anyone. I felt like the only person going through a separation or divorce. And it was very lonely. And
Yeah.
so I
Sure.
want to change that. And to speak to someone who is going through a similar experience is it just it makes you feel supported. It makes you feel not so alone. Someone who's further down the journey can inspire you with hope
Yeah.
and guide you a little bit. There's only benefits from it. But to speak to someone who's never been through a heartbreak or never been through a heartbreak with children or never whatever it is, gone through a divorce, but they wanted it. It just depends on the situation. But to talk to someone who's been through the same lived experience as you is really powerful. So you're right. On Instagram, I'm Heartbreak to Heart Open, and on Facebook, it's the Heart Opener Coach. And I call myself the Heart Opener Coach because when we go through heartbreak, we tend to close our hearts. But actually, what we learn is opening our hearts to love for us first. We fill all that space with ourselves, and then love for the world. Everything's about love, right?
I
At the end
know,
of the day,
always.
always we're all connected by love. And just to point out, it's not like I'm also this optimistic, positive person all the time. It's all about love. No, because of course we have down times, and of course we have bad days, and of course we have anger. Like we're all of that. And it's very much about embracing all parts of us.
It's true.
But it is about learning to open our hearts again, not keeping it closed.
I agree with you, and I love what you are saying. Open the heart, because at the end of the day, everything is love. The whole universe, we are all love, and we are all connected. But what I realize, actually, people don't really understand, because we use love, especially now in social media. Love, 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 love. I sometimes wonder, do we really know, or do
Yeah.
what love is?
Yeah.
That's unconditional love, and I love what you said. First, me.
Yeah.
First, me, and not because I'm selfish, and not because you are selfish. Because for me, when I started this journey, and someone would have said that, okay, Christina, love yourself, blah blah blah, I would say no, 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 because we
Yeah.
saw that it's selfish, but it's not.
Yeah.
That's basic, that's fundamental, because if I look in the mirror, if you look guys in the mirror, the person who is looking back is you.
Yeah.
And I say always, if you don't love yourself, if you don't respect yourself, if you don't know yourself first, then how do you expect others to love and
Yeah.
respect you? And I love what you said about heart opening. Yes, in certain situations like heartbreaks, divorce, or different traumas in life, things happen. But opening your heart, it takes courage, but it's the most wonderful thing what can happen, really, because it's like when you open a completely new world, a completely new you.
Yeah.
And again, it's interesting that I'm talking about transition again and again and again in this couple of months, but the reason is that there was an old you. Would you agree? And there is a new you.
Yeah.
But the old you is still a little bit there. The old you is not fully embodied yet. And then there is transition phase when the two of them, they are kind of a mix.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel a little bit confused, and now who
Yeah.
am I really? Am I the old one? Am I the new one? Because, but slowly as we move and we grow, I'm talking too much, Christina, you're getting, then,
No, it's
this,
absolutely right. Yeah. And
this,
and a lot of people call it that messy middle because
exactly,
and I mentioned this in the chapter as well because it's such a critical transition point and how you navigate that phase, that gap is everything because a lot of people want to give up or that's when they go back to the old patterns or go back to an old situation or a hurt or betrayal, whatever it is. Because you haven't fully developed a new identity.
exactly.
You're still emerging. The old one is familiar, even if it brings pain. And it's a very tricky gap to navigate. But this is where the transformation happens.
It's
And
true.
this is where the I don't like to say hard work, but this is where the real inner work happens,
Yes,
actually.
it's true.
And you have to go through this phase to come out the other side. And even now, I'm still evolving. Like we're always becoming. You've never become. We're
It's
always
true.
becoming. There's always something. We've never fully arrived. There's always something that we're
It's true.
learning,
It's
and
true.
some lesson we're learning, and how some external thing that's teaching us something. So we're always becoming. But as you go further down that road, you are so much more aware of who you are. So you're aware of your becoming, and you consciously choosing this and choosing how you're evolving. And that's the process of in the beginning of choosing yourself and figuring out what you want. how do you want it? Who do you want with you?
True.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying, Kristen. And what I noticed today in just this conversation, and I'm going to emphasize on that, I love that you are using consciously choosing. You used that a couple of times today. And this is one of the most important things when you consciously choose to change, when you consciously, I love that.
Yeah.
It requires self awareness. It's not something, it's not a skill, it was always there. It's just, at certain season, in certain phases, it's underdeveloped, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But the more you grow, the more self-aware you are, the more you are able to make these conscious choices,
Yeah.
conscious decisions, right?
Well, a big thing for me, I realized that no one's going to come and save me. No one's going to do this work for me. No one's going to help me. No one's going to scoop me up and take me out of the story. Only I can do that. So that's why I always talk about conscious. I feel like now I'm living a conscious life. And even with the pain, even with the frustration, even with the anger, even with all the chaos, I feel alive. Like, you remember you're alive. I'm not sleeping through life. And that's also a nice reminder, actually, that no matter how hard it gets, I'd rather be alive and consciously navigating my life than sleepwalking through my life.
Sleepwalking, exactly. That's a good one. Sleepwalking. I love it. Wow, the book is called The Courage to Rise, and we talk a lot about rising. Okay, rising means a lot of things to a lot of people, like success and all that. But I would love to ask you what rising means to you now. Now, not then, not in a month, today, now. What rising means to you?
It really means rising into my power, into me, into who I am. It's just about rising into the space that I hold, rising, filling my whole skin, filling with my whole being with a knowing of who I am. And it's rising because I haven't risen. I haven't reached, like, it's like becoming. We're constantly doing it. And we'll always be doing it, but it's rising into me, into who I am and who I want to be. Yeah.
Thank you. I love it. I appreciate it. I also, before we close, I have one more question for you because I could stay here with you for a long time. If someone, for example, who is watching now, or maybe you're going to watch in the replay, right, is at the point that we've all been there, when we felt that something is a little bit off, and I'm asking this question, all of you guys, joining Truth Runners. For example, something feels off. You don't really know yet what's that, okay? But it is there, and you don't know what to do. What would you say to them?
You mean something feels off in their relationship?
Yes, it's something off in their relationship, something off in their lives. They can't fully explain it yet, but they feel it. Something is not okay. What would you say to them?
I would say start connecting to that feeling, because we often don't understand it in the beginning. And only when we start to connect with it and become conscious of it, become aware of it, just observe it. There's nothing to do yet. There's nothing to fix. Just start observing it. And when you start observing it, it starts to reveal itself. And then you start to see where the cracks are or what it is. And when you become more connected to yourself, then you start to recognize when those feelings feel off, and where, like, you can connect it to a place or a person or an event or an experience. And then you can start shaping this thing that feels off. And is it your relation? Is it work? Is it me? Is it a situation? Is it a memory? It could be anything. So it's again about becoming an observer to what this is, and connecting to yourself just to know the truth within of what feels right or not.
Thank you. That's very important and very good and very wise advice. It's about connecting with yourself. It's about being self-aware and about noticing, observing yourself, knowing yourself. That's the first step. So when you get to know, the more you get to know yourself, the more easier the path will become, really.
Yeah.
So if there's someone who resonated with you today, or they're watching the replay, can you please share where they can connect with you and what is it that you offer?
Absolutely. They can connect with me on Instagram at Heartbreak to Heart Open, or Facebook at the Heart Opener Coach. And you can message me or connect with me, and I will reply there. And yeah, you can follow me, follow my journey, or have a session or join one of my programs, whatever feels aligned. And I'd love to connect anyway. Anyone goes.
Thank you so much, Kirsten.
My
Wait,
pleasure. Thanks for being here.
I'm gonna put your I'm gonna put your contact details in the comments below. Thank you again for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being part of the book as well. I'm so grateful for you for working with me along, by my side on this journey. It means a lot. Thank you so much, guys, for being here with us today. Thank you for all the loves and comments. I'm going to see you next time.
Thank you for coordinating this and making it happen, making it come alive.
It's a pleasure. I love what I'm doing. Thank you. So until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and light, and bye for now.